You have turned into Remote Control's latest episode. Listen in as the GCRN crew talks TV from 2000 until now, with pilot and season premiere episodes, finishing finales, and season passes as well. Now get ready to change the channel with your remote control as we bring you the latest and greatest in the world of television. All from the GeekCast radio network, we are all remote controlled.
The abduction was unexpected. It forced me to move up my plans. But what I told the police was true. The man in the green hood was there in that warehouse. And he's just beginning.
That's right, grab that remote control because the GCRN's brand new TV podcast is here. We are calling it Remote Control. I am your host, TFG1 Mike, and joining me is Steve Megatron. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Drunk?
Really?
No.
Damn.
I just wanted to see what you'd say.
We so need to do a drunk cast. We really do. We all ought to get hammered on the 29th of December and do the year in review drunk.
As long as you're not playing with your hammer on the air, that's no problem.
Wait, what?
You know me and the underside jokes the last week and a half.
Mm-hmm. Last week and a half.
Too much time with
2.5 months.
Too much time hanging out with Dodd.
Yeah. And making his remote control debut is Chuck from Talking in Circles. Hello.
How's it going?
It's going.
So what part of the circle are you?
I would be one of the 360 degrees.
Oh, okay.
That, and he has a creepy alter ego.
Yeah. It's interesting that we can make a circle out of three people, which would normally be a triangle, but, you know, we make it work.
Should have called the podcast The Triforce of Wisdom. When people would really get confused, we're like, wait, is this a gaming podcast? What's going on here?
But then everybody would call them a girl because that they would, Zelda.
Yeah. Well, 3 links, 1 room, that wouldn't make any difference.
We're not going that route.
Okay, so we've taken care of the pilot premieres for the 2014 television season for the fall. We were going to do Constantine. The timing didn't work out. I still have it in my iTunes. We may do it eventually for a season pass or a finishing finale or something like that. But honestly, Constantine, I know it's on a lot of other people's radars. It's not on mine. I have too much TV that I have to watch. So we are starting a new era here on Remote Control, and this is going to be the era of the Season Pass. Basically, if you didn't listen to the episode 0 of this podcast, first of all, go back and listen to that. Second of all, what Season Passes are is myself, Steve, or whoever else I decide to bring on here for whatever show that they're interested in. We go through an entire season of television and talk about it within somewhere between 30 to 45 minutes to an hour each time around. And tonight we're doing one of Steve's favorites, one of my favorites, and one of Chuck's favorites. We're doing the CW's Arrow Season 1. Now, Steve, when did you first hear about this, and what were your initial thoughts about this series?
I've been watching it since day one. I heard that it was coming down the pipe because I watched CW for Supernatural, and Whose Line Is It Anyway? And then now Arrow and Flash. But I was just when I heard about it, I was hoping that it would not turn out to be another Smallville, which thankfully it did not. 10 years ago, the damn suit doesn't even put it on, and then first episode in this show. So
here we go. Come on now.
So yeah, so I was greatly pleased when I saw the first episode and he actually wore the suit, albeit a very early edition, but he at least put the thing on.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what about you, Chuck? What were your when did you first hear about Arrow? What was your initial reaction to it? Were you excited? Were you not excited? Did you expect a Smallville 2.0?
I was very excited. I think I heard about it online. Just I checked my various geek sites every day and stuff. I think that's where I kind of found out about it, and I was excited because I think I'm like the 1% on the planet that actually enjoyed Smallville. So I was super excited because I enjoyed that show. It had a lot of sentimental value to me. I know there were a lot of issues with that show, but I was anxious to see how CW would do Green Arrow because I thought it would translate well, being a more street level character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's face it, he is the Star City version of Batman.
No, he's Batman Light.
Oh God, here we go. All right, so before we get too far into the actual discussion of the season, we are going to do several categories here. We're going to do stage dressing, we're going to do casting couch, and then we're going to get into our overall thoughts on the season. For the stage dressing, we have obviously debuted 2012 on the channel CW. The show length is 1 hour, or depending on how long the episodes actually are, it's anywhere between 41 and 45 minutes long without commercials. So far, there are 3 seasons, and so far there have been 51 episodes. No, well, because I looked at the air date wrong, because this goes up. This actual podcast will air the day that the 52nd overall episode goes up of the series. So, as of this recording, there are 51. By the time you're listening to this, 52 episodes of the show would have aired. So there's that. And the cast. I mean, let's talk about the cast for a minute here. You've got Stephen Amell as Oliver Queen, Green Arrow, or Arrow, I should say. What do you guys think of this version of Oliver Queen, Steve?
I wasn't too familiar with the character before the show, to be honest, because to me he's like a second level Justice Leaguer. More so because you have your main 7 or 8, and he just kind of is there after that. Like I would rank him very high on the second tier, but my only actual knowledge of him was from the Justice League Unlimited animated series. So before this, I didn't have that much knowledge. I mean, I knew enough between like the Dark Knight Returns and watching that. I knew enough that he was like Starling City's Batman, basically, just in a different, used bow and arrows instead of batarangs, and it was very similar. But other than that, I didn't really know all that much.
And had you ever seen Justin Hartley as Green Arrow in Smallville?
I couldn't get past the first season of that show. I turned it off.
Wow. Okay, well, we will so be doing Smallville season passes at some point. Obviously, Steve won't be on those episodes, but
Crush, kill, destroy.
Oh, stop it. Chuck, what about you? What do you think of Amell as Oliver? And obviously, you had seen Justin as the other Oliver in Smallville. What do you like better or worse from each of them?
Well, I had known the Green Arrow from a little bit of comics and cartoons and stuff. He's a very, very much a playboy type of character, like a Tony Stark. But he's also got the Batman side to him, very strategic and tactical. and he kind of like switches that on and off. And something that I thought Justin Hartley did a great job as was the Playboy part of it. You know, the womanizer always wanting to date, you know, different women and doing this and that. Um, and at first, Stephen Amell was, I don't want to say terrible, but he was kind of bad at portraying that side of himself. Um, and then, but he was really, really good at the other parts, like the action, the drama. Um, and then as the season progressed, as the show progressed, he got a lot better at both of those things. And it was to the point where I like Stephen Amell so much more now than Justin Hartley.
Mm-hmm. And for me, you know, like Steve, I came from Justice League Unlimited when technically in that he is the seventh member of the Justice League, because during the point of that, Hawk Girl is gone. So he kind of fills the seventh spot for a while. And I loved the voice acting in there. I loved the camaraderie he had with Black Canary. I think out of all of the JLU episodes that are non-Batman centric, Double Date is by far the greatest one, because you've got Arrow, you've got Green Arrow and Canary, and then Question and Huntress as couples, and I just thought that was great. Justin Hartley, I have to go back and watch Smallville. I remember him, but I think I only remember him from the Justice Society episode or whatever it was, the very first episode that the Justice League kind of formed in the show. So I'm gonna have to go back and watch watch more Smallville. With Stephen Amell, I think he does a damn good job. I think what they're doing with Arrow is that, at least on his side of the casting, is that he's been on an island for 5 some odd years. You know, the Playboy side isn't going to come to him right away. I mean, in the flashbacks it does, and he might suck at it a little bit, but once he comes back, he has to learn how to do all that stuff all over again.
That's true, yeah.
So
it just seemed like the moments where he was like, when this family would have like a party, you know, and he was trying to be, and maybe they did that on purpose, like you said, but it was just like stale. Like he just didn't come across as like a, you know, somebody that could take over a room and have all eyes on him.
yeah, no, probably not. We also have Katie Cassidy as Laurel Lance, Dinah Laurel Lance. I like Laurel. She's all right. She gets kind of, you know, we'll talk about this next week in season when we do the season 2 season pass. She was fine in season 1. In season 2, she goes on a slope that I just did not like. What do you guys think of her, Steve?
Of Laurel?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, seeing her right from the get-go reminded me of her character in Supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
She was the first Ruby demon in the show. So that's where I knew her from first. I know she's been in a lot of other CW programs as well, but among other things. But I kind of liked her, but I kind of was like, I really don't care for her in this role. Like, she just annoyed me. And to some degree, she still does. But she's starting to actually, I don't know, evolve beyond... I mean, not that she didn't have moments where her character changed throughout the series, because she has, but I think now she's finally starting to actually get more of that main cast feel.
Mm-hmm.
Being in 3, but in season 1, I felt that she was kind of just there.
What about you, Chuck?
I think I'm gonna kind of echo what Steve said. I guess like season 1, she was kind of annoying, and you know I was gonna bring that up later too. But the whole love triangle thing just kind of really got on my nerves at times in the first season. Just because it's such an old thing, like you see it in X-Men, you've seen it in Smallville, you've seen it in all these other things, and she just kind of struck me as a little bit annoying, but she came around a little bit, and I remember thinking too, I'm like, how is she going to end up as Black Canary? And I remember trying to figure that out and stuff, and I got thrown for a little bit of a loop, needless to say.
I think we all did, because no one expected that,
Well, I don't think anybody expected the avenue they took with that character, and I knew the character as Black Canary as well. I mean, just the character. But I wasn't sure how that was going to come into play.
Absolutely. All right, so up next we have David Ramsey as John Diggle. I feel like I've seen him before, and I had to actually look him up because I don't know. I just felt like I had seen him in so many other things. Looking at his filmography here, I remember him from several things like Pay It Forward and Con Air, Nutty Professor, but I haven't seen Nutty Professor in a long, long time. He's done some pretty damn good work. What do we think of the character of Diggle, Steve?
Well, for one, I know that they created him for the show, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that he adds this kind of consciousness to Oliver Queen that he kind of lacks. It's more of the kind of the role model, but also kind of telling him, like gauging his right and wrong. So in that sense, I kind of like him, but I definitely see him as a welcome character.
What about you, Chuck?
Love him, absolutely love him. Like you said, he was created for this show, but I think, and he has a role that sort of changes in the 3 seasons. But in season 1, to me, he really echoed he mirrored Oliver's relationship in the past, like that he was developing with Slade Wilson. In the present, you have Diggle that's kind of becoming his buddy, teaching him things about himself and sort of that moral compass, like Steve mentioned. I just really love his character. I thought he added a lot to the show and really kind of cured some of that blandness, like in the beginning, because there was a lot of good interactions between him and Oliver, a lot of good talks.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Diggle. I think he's really grown over the 3 seasons. In season 1, I thought they were just gonna do him as a throwaway character, like what they did with the driver after him, where he's like, where Dig says, "Good luck trying to keep up." That's really what I thought they were gonna do with him. I'm glad they didn't, because obviously Oliver needs a team. He needs people he can trust, and thankfully Dig is one of those. Up next is Quentin Lance, played by Paul Blackthorne. This man is going to be in something else Steve loves coming up. He's going to be Dr. Meldman in Dumb and Dumber 2.
I didn't know he was attached to that, but first time I'd seen him though was in, I'm trying to think of the name of the show. It lasted a season. It's based on some books.
Warehouse 13.
No, the Dresden Files.
Ah, yes.
I actually liked his character in that. It was kind of neat, his portrayal in that, and then seeing him kind of playing a similar type character, but this time he's an actual cop instead of supernatural vigilante.
Holy crap, he was in 24.
Everybody's been in 24 at some point.
Well, yeah, but he was in 24 back in season 3 in 2004 as Stephen Saunders. I like him as Detective Lance. I think there are times where his voice is a little too gravelly. It's a little too Christian Bale Batman. But, I mean, I like him overall as a character in this. What about you, Chuck?
Yeah, I like him as well. I guess I don't have a whole lot to say about him, but with him, I kind of think of something along the lines of like Dennis Leary in Amazing Spider-Man. It's kind of like that that blue collar guy. You know,
except he's better.
Yeah, 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 he's much better. But he's got that attitude toward vigilantes, and it just kind of adds that everyman perspective to the show, I guess you could say.
Absolutely. So we're only going to talk about a few more here. We got to mention Willa Holland, aka Thea Queen. I was surprised to see her in this because the last time I had seen her in anything, she was on a Fox show called The OC back in 2003 to 2005. I like her. I like that they kind of use the whole Speedy thing. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
And that actually comes back in season 2, which we'll talk about next time, which I thought was really cool how they brought that around. What do you guys think of Thea in this, Steve?
First, I wasn't actually familiar with her character whatsoever before this. But again, I think she's another just kind of second layer, second or third layer character here. I mean, not that she isn't important again, but again, she doesn't really get her own until season 3.
That's true. What about you, Chuck, overall?
Overall, I guess I don't really care too much for her character. As far as season 1 goes, I think I was kind of wondering, why is she there? Like, why does he need a sister?
Yeah.
She added a little bit at times, certain episodes. But, overall, like, she didn't really see some bigger roles until the second season, and especially the third.
Absolutely, very true. The last one I think we're going to talk about is Emily Bett Rickards, who plays Felicity Smoke. Felicity is awesome, but she needs to stay on The Flash with Barry. That's what she needs to do at this point.
I actually like her here, but that's only because she kind of reminds me of Oracle.
Yeah.
So she's, again, it's another parallel to Batman.
Absolutely. Thoughts on Felicity, Chuck?
Yeah, I do get the Oracle vibe. I also get and Steve's probably gonna hate this, but I get the Chloe vibe from Smallville.
It doesn't make me mad because I have no reference point for it. So,
but she is better than Chloe, I will say.
Yeah. I'd say she's almost on par with Chloe from 24.
That's who I was thinking when you said the name.
Yeah. So, all right, now we are going to
what about
jump.
One other very important character? I don't know if you wanted to bring him in later, but how about John Barrowman?
Oh yeah, Malcolm Merlin. Everybody has this huge fascination with this actor for some odd reason. I have no idea why. No clue why everyone loves this guy.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that, but I do like him a lot in this show.
Yeah, he is pretty good. I think it's like, I think my one apprehension about watching this series when season 1 first kind of premiered was like, what are they like? I know the Count is, Count Vertigo is an Arrow villain. I know Deadshot sometimes tends to be an Arrow villain, but I'm sitting here thinking, what villains are they going to put in this damn series? Because let's face it, the Green Arrow Rogues Gallery is not as big as someone as, say, Batman or Superman or hell, even Wonder Woman, or but they've managed to do a damn good job. They really have. And Barrowman did, for what scenes he was in season 1, the whole behind the scenes thing, he did a damn good job.
Absolutely.
All right, so now it is time to jump or not to jump the shark.
I like sharks.
There is absolutely... Okay, I did a written review for Blake Neely's season 1 score. We live in a day and age, ladies and gentlemen, where TV show theme songs are a thing of the past. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not, saying anything against Mr. Neely's scoring, because he does have an amazing score for the first season. And the opening theme is at the end of the first track. but it's just that last like few seconds is what the opening theme is on the show, and there really isn't one. I mean, it's like a half a second as the arrow is coming up on screen, and then that's it. So my problem isn't with the music itself, it's with the fact that TV people don't like doing theme songs anymore, I guess. I don't know. Uh, General plot season 1 is basically Oliver returns after being, stranded on an island for 5 years, and his mission is to, right his father's wrongs, because come to find out that Robert Queen is one of the people who failed Starling City. And he has basically a hit list, let's just call it what it is, and he's going through and putting arrows in everybody for the majority of season 1. I think the interesting thing for me with this whole aspect with his father is that it's Jamie Sheridan playing his dad, and where I know Jamie Sheridan from is Law and Order: Criminal Intent. He was the captain for a number of seasons on that show, and it took me a while, and when I looked at the cast, I'm like, whoa, wait, what? Really? So that was kind of cool. So we basically have the first season's overall plot being that Oliver wants to save the city, but he also has to juggle his home life. What kind of notes did you take down for the first season, Chuck?
I guess just my biggest thing was the dual storyline going on.
Mm-hmm.
You have the past and you have the present, and I think that was awesome. And I know there's other shows that have done that and stuff, but it was so much more than just flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything they did in the past mirrored what was happening in the present with every episode. I just thought it was tied together really well in each and every episode, pretty much.
Absolutely.
It was like it wasn't overly annoying. They weren't forcing it on you. It was just enough to sort of craft a really good story for each episode, and also as a kind of linking them all together for the season.
I did feel by the time we got to the end, there were a couple of flashbacks that just, I don't know, I just didn't care about them. But, going back and, like I said, I think I had seen the pilot for this, and I had seen like the first 6 or 7 or 8 episodes, and I kept watching and kept watching. It was getting better and better and better. And I watched all the way through the first season, but let's face it, the first season was 2 years ago at this point that we're recording this, and I had to go back on Netflix and watch the whole season over again before we did this recording, so I knew, because I didn't remember, the only thing I remember is that the undertaking happens, a giant quake, the Glades is dead, and so is Tommy.
Yeah.
That's really all I remembered bits and pieces of the Count storyline. I remembered, hey, there's a dark archer who has black arrows and he's killing people. I remembered that, but I didn't remember a lot of everything else. So I actually went back and watched the entire season again. Steve, what notes did you write down for season 1 for Arrow?
Well, first of all, I had this hard time watching season 1 only because I don't know, it started to get kind of blah for me about midway into season 1,
Mm-hmm.
and then I actually originally dropped it. I said I'll check it out when season 2 comes back, because right now it's kind of a train wreck. But it was kind of that I felt like it was in this rut, but also at the same time it was trying to lay the groundwork, which is good, but it kind of bored me. But it did strengthen back up again towards the end of the season, but I think that's also because they got the renewal notice.
Yeah. That's one thing I've noticed, and that's one thing we're going to talk about as we do season passes, is how a show changes midway through once they get a renewal notice. Like, there are some TV shows nowadays that they get picked up for a full season and they do their best, and then at some point they say, oh, well, we haven't got that renewal notice yet, so we're just going to phone it in.
Well, it's kind of like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh.
Same. I'm not going to go into detail, but I'm going to say
Yeah.
that the show was it was decent for the first episode or two, then it turned to utter crap, and then there was a couple of hints of something to come in the episodes, and then it was utter crap, and then Captain America 2 happened, and the show picked up, and it's hit the ground running since. So
Pretty much, yeah.
it's it took a film that it's tied to keep going, whereas this it's its own thing. And because of the success of this, it's also spawned multiple seasons and a spinoff. So I can see where this show kind of, even though it started out kind of weak, it picked up and it built the lore, and even though it took some liberties and changed some things, I think it worked out to its advantage. Especially for somebody that, like myself, that doesn't know much about these secondary characters that kind of made them primary characters for once.
Mm-hmm. For me, when I was taking my notes, I had 17 things that I wrote down. That first escape in the pilot, when Oliver just ducks right out of the car as it's moving, and Daggle's like, wait, what? Where'd he go? I love that moment. The first season, I'm finally glad they gave him a name after a while, because the Hood just didn't seem right. The Vigilante didn't seem right.
Well, they were the city's nicknames for them to kind of,
yeah,
to kind of put a face to the name kind of thing, or name face, name to the face or whatever. But it's kind of also along the same lines of they're trying to evolve the character little by little every season. So the name changes every time his costume changes and he gets more refined. So eventually he will become the Green Arrow.
The Green Arrow, yeah. We'll put an APB out on Robin Hood. I love that. That's just such a great line. And then Oliver asks, I think he asks Diggle because somebody else makes a reference to it. What's Twilight? So better off not knowing. By this point, I'm up to the Deadshot episode. Deadshot is damn awesome.
Yeah.
And damn, can Laurel fight? Those self-defense classes really paid off. Bloodhaven reference. We so need Nightwing in this series.
Well,
even if
they've
it's just in
hinted
the
for
shadows.
reasons.
Yeah, I know.
Keep that in mind.
I know.
Yeah, I've been
It's
hearing
taking
some
too
stuff,
damn
too.
long. I thought by that point the show is moving fast, and very nicely. Love the effects. The story is very well written. I mean, the episode 4 cliffhanger was great. I thought that was amazing. Dig tried touching an arrow when he was sent to the arrow cave, then says, ow, of course they're going to be sharp, you idiot. You don't... Oh, Lord.
What do you think of the green eye paint?
It
was him
Part of the
trying
evolution of
I'm trying to figure out why people just don't do a WWF stare down with him so they can actually look at his face. Like every time I see him in season 1 and he's got his head down, his hood doesn't it comes over his forehead, but it does. If people really want to get down on their knees and look up when he's got his head down, you could clearly see his face, green paint or not.
yeah.
The Huntress episode was amazing. I love that. That was awesome. And the world building, season 1, so many introductions, returning characters. When Deadshot came back again, that was awesome. I love how they have built the world in the first season, and I know a lot of people say the first season didn't really excite them all that much, but I guess because it had been so long since I had seen the first season, I was pretty much going into it with fresh eyes. And almost every single thing, like none of my notes are like any complaints about season one. I mean, yeah, there are character complaints with Laurel and with Detective Lance and stuff like that, but uh, in episode 21, um, when Felicity was in the casino, she really shouldn't have said what she said.
You act like we all remember.
It was she's got the earpiece in her ear, and he says to her, "Don't worry, I'm here with you." And she says,
Oh yeah.
she says, she says, "I'm so glad I have you inside me." And she's like, "Wait, no, that's not what I meant."
Yeah, I remember that.
It's like, I absolutely love that.
She's awkward, but they don't make it like annoying. Like they kind of pick their moments.
The whole, and I hope they do more of this as we go along. But the joke about the tracking device in the boot, Green Arrow does that kind of crap all the time. You know, the funny things in Justice League Unlimited, he made a quip about and Black Canary said a boxing glove arrow would never work. You know, it's that kind of thing that I want to see more of in this show. I mean, yeah, I know it's a serious and dark show, but it doesn't have to be that dark. And I think that they're injecting a little bit more humor to it. It's not as light as The Flash is, but I thought that was awesome. And come to find out that his mother and both of his parents are basically in on this whole plan to destroy the city just because someone killed Merlin's wife. And it just, I God, if I ever found out my parents did something like that, I'd probably go crazy too. The undertaking was interesting. At first I thought Tommy was going to be a throwaway character. Because when we first see Ollie come home, he's like, "All right, let's get back to partying, yeah." And they did kind of, give him, character development as the season went along, but I wasn't too shaken up to see him leave, honestly. Because it's Warner Brothers and DC, they'll find a way to revive him at some point.
They did revive him.
Did they?
Yeah, for flashback.
In a way. Yeah.
Well, flashbacks don't count. Flashbacks don't count. Overall, I really enjoyed season one. I think there's a difference in watching TV shows nowadays where you watch it as it airs and you form. And I do this. I'm not saying I'm the exception here. You watch TV shows episode by episode as they air on television, and you formulate opinions as you go along. When I watched this in one lump sum, because it took me about, I don't know, 3 weeks to watch 20 some odd episodes, there wasn't too many things that pissed me off about the show. There really wasn't. Is there anything out of season one, Steve, that just really got your goat?
Not really. I mean, upon subsequent viewing, it's fine. It's minor pet peeves on my part. It's not even anything that's really, I don't know. I wouldn't call it annoying.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Chuck?
The only thing for me, and I did mention it before, but the love triangle between Oliver, Laurel, and Tommy just
that
got
was
really, really annoying to me at times because they just overdid it. But it wasn't to the point where it ruined the show for me because I kind of just ignored it, and there were so many other great things about it. So,
absolutely. Do you guys have a favorite villain character that showed up this season, Steve?
Not really. I mean, I would probably say Deadshot, but that's just because I think the character's cool.
What about you, Chuck?
yeah, I like Deadshot a lot. Trying to think of who else was in there.
We had the Count, we had Malcolm, we had I'm trying to I can't think either.
The Clock King was second season, right?
Yeah, the Clock King
Yep.
was season 2.
Okay. Yeah, I actually liked Merlin a lot. Just because I remember thinking like being so frustrated towards the middle end of the season, how Merlin was always one step ahead of Oliver. And it frustrated me in a good way though, because it's like you always expect the good guy to win and get the upper hand, and he just always kept falling short because Merlin was always like one upping him, and it was like refreshing because like the villain's getting the best of somebody, and it's kind of a new thing that ended up working out for the better.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, for me, I thought it was kind of cliched that they did it this way, but I liked the take on the Count. Because normally when I see Count Vertigo, he's very upper crust. Like, holding pinkies in the air, afternoon tea and all that. I like this version of him. He reminds me of what Frost was in the first Blade movie.
Oh, nice. Good pull there.
Yeah. Overall, the entire season really, really dug it. So we are going to... Do you guys have any other final thoughts for season 1?
Nope.
I had a couple things, I guess.
Okay.
Just the one thing about going back to Deadshot was I was really glad to see they brought him back because I thought it drove a big wedge sort of between Oliver and Diggle, because Diggle obviously, having personal reasons to kind of go and get this guy because he killed his brother and this and that. So it created a lot of turmoil between Diggle and Oliver. Diggle kind of wanted breaking off and going after Deadshot. Oliver saying we need to stay on the mission and stuff like that. That created a lot of cool moments. And then the other thing, just sort of a campy little trivia thing, but I know we mentioned Diggle was created for the show, but actually he was, I guess, liked so much that when they did the New 52, he was added to the comics universe in the Green Arrow comics in 2013.
Yeah. And they also have an Arrow-centric comic as well, like a comic just for the show outside of the New 52. So I have yet to pick that up. I may pick it up eventually.
I picked it up. It's quite interesting. It's pretty cool.
What does it center around?
It's kind of like just more backstory, kind of exploring that world a little bit more. I don't think I finished it completely. I think I just kind of started it, but I remember thinking it's like very, like if you're super into that world and stuff and you want to know like more details about stuff, like it'd be a good thing to pick up.
Cool. All right, we are going to take a quick break, come back with the GCRN review, which is our rating stuff, and then we'll exit stage left after this.
Now for a behind-the-scenes look at GeekCast Radio Network's newest show, Talking in Circles.
So, Chuck, Greg, what are you guys thinking for this week's show?
Well, Dan, how about we just talk about the things that we've read or watched this week?
We do reviews like that every week, Chuck. How about a game like Fact or Fiction or The Power of Names?
Those are great, and we're always coming up with new ideas for games. And how about some top fives? You know how I love my top fives.
What about tournament-style brackets, or sequel, reboot, and destroy? Who will win in a fight? Taking too far? Crazy but true news? Or
yes, it appears we have lots of things to work on.
Listen to Talking in Circles, taking timeless topics in new directions. Every Tuesday on iTunes or GeekCastRadio.com, the GeekCast Radio Network.
Hey, Dan, who's the guy with the creepy voice?
All right, we are. Wait a second, I gotta pull that up for you guys. I know you know it, Steve, but I gotta pull it up for Chuck. So, come on. Search, damn it, search, Chuck. I'm gonna put our rating system link in the chat so you can look at it.
Okay.
Just let me know when you're ready.
Let's see. Okay, so you got basically like a 5-star thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we are back, and we're going to talk about reviewing Season 1 as far as what we would rate it, and kind of like final thoughts, predictions of where Season 2 is going to go, that kind of thing. When you guys were watching Season 1 as it aired, where did you think Season 2 was going to go before you found out, Steve?
I wasn't sure if it was going to go anywhere, actually. I was kind of hoping that they would do what they did, which is evolve it.
Mm.
But I didn't really have any high hopes for it after watching Season 1.
Mm.
I wasn't sure if I was going to keep watching, so...
What would you rate Season 1?
Just because of its early nature and the fact that I didn't know what was going to happen at the time, and a lot of the characters just seemed kind of like bleh, throwaway, which some of them were. I'd give it like a 3.5 out of 5.
Okay. All right. What about you, Chuck? What was your initial thought? What were your hopes for Season 2 after watching Season 1?
Well, I kind of expected it to come down to Deathstroke at some point because they were hinting at him pretty heavily. I just wasn't sure at what point they would get to him. I kind of thought they would milk it a little bit longer, sort of develop that relationship with Slade and Oliver even more. So I thought the Deathstroke stuff wouldn't come till like maybe Season 3.
Mm-hmm.
So that threw me off a little bit, but pleasantly surprised though overall.
What would you rate Season 1?
I don't know. Yeah, this might raise an eyebrow, but I tend to let my emotions get the best of me. But I would have to say a 4.5. I think there's issues, but obviously the good things greatly overshadow the bad things, in my opinion.
Yeah, I could almost agree with that. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. There were little nitpicky things I didn't mention now that I think about it, but I mean overall, it's a damn good opening to this opening 20-something odd episodes to the series. I liked Oliver's motivations. I liked how he handled situations. I like how he eventually will evolve out of being a killer. I like the direction that the team, because that was the other cool thing. He didn't just go to Diggle and Felicity and say, "Hey, want to join up?" They joined gradually, and I like that way of writing. I think the writers are doing a really good job out of this. If I really had a complaint about Season 1, his mother is just a god-awful character.
Yeah, they rectify that eventually.
Yeah, good old Blade. So I think that's going to do it for us here in this episode of Remote Control. Chuck, where can the people find you and interact with you online, sir?
I don't know. I'm not on Twitter, so.
Okay then.
No Twitter.
No Twitter account. Not a huge social media fan, but we do have a Talking in Circles Facebook page, so you can look that up.
Yep. Awesome. What about you, Steve?
Well, I'm SCP-21 among other places.
You can follow at GeekCast Radio on Twitter and all that other good stuff. I am at TF2 and Mike. Coming up next on Remote Control is going to be Season Pass Arrow Season 2, so stay tuned for that. Yay!
No slot machines. I mean, how do you call yourself a casino without any Lucky Sevens?
Stay focused, please. I'll be with you the entire time.
Thanks. Feels really good having you inside me. And by you, I mean your voice. And by me, I mean my ear. And stop talking right now.
That would be my preference.
You've just listened to Remote Control. Thank you for tuning in to Remote Control. There are several ways to get in contact with us or leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com. You can email us feedback at geekcastradio.com. Be sure to leave us feedback in iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at GeekCast Radio. Become a fan of us on Facebook by searching GeekCast Radio Network. You can call the voicemail line. Be sure to leave us your name and the show you're leaving it for. The number is 502-526-5821. We hope you enjoyed the latest episode of Remote Control.